Hello, this is Heather Joshi. I'll walk you through a step-by-step demonstration on creating a figure ground reversal. In this video, we'll discuss what a figure ground reversal is. I'll show you some materials that you can use, as well as student examples to inspire you. And we'll look at work by the awesome comic book artist, writer, Mike Mignola. So it'll be a lot of fun. Let's start at the materials. So, you can just get a white sheet of paper. Here I have that 8.5 by 11 computer sheet of paper. You can also use your 11-inch by 14-inch mixed media paper. We have some pens, markers here. You may also want to use a pencil that you can erase with, as well as a nice big juicy eraser. And they could be anything. You don't have to get fine art pencils, just use what you have on hand. Here's a real dorky little example of a figure ground reversal. So we have our figure, he's a little smiling person, and then we have the ground, that's just that blank area of white and black, and that's in the background. So it's behind, the figure is closest to us, we relate to it as another being. It's in the foreground, it's close. But on the left side, the figure's black and he's on a white ground. Then on the right side, he is white on a black ground. So it's still the same figure, but he has black and white. So that's where you have the reversal happen. So that line just straight down the middle, it's pretty simple and straightforward. I don't recommend just always going for that approach. In this example, the figure ground reversal is a little more natural. So we have the white figure, and then we have the black tree, which serves as a ground and defines him. So the reversal isn't just an arbitrary, or that's another word for random, just line running down the center just to, let that black-white swap happen. It's actually integrated within the composition. We have a white figure, the black tree, it makes sense it would be there, and then we have a white sky, it makes sense it would be there too. So you might want to go for that approach when you're making your figure ground reversal drawing. So somebody who's a wizard at creating figure ground reversals is Mike Mignola, who created the Hellboy comic strip. There's his picture. And here's one of his beautiful drawings of Hellboy. So you can see where there's all these kind of figures that are bathed in white. They're standing against that dark ground. Looks like the 4 horsemen from the apocalypse. And then you have this kind of explosive burst, and that leads down to Hellboy and his hoofs, and they are black on that really stark white background. So it's a pretty natural shift from having white figures on a black void background versus Hellboy's feet, which become black figures on that white background. Here's another beautiful drawing by Mike Mignola of a fish man. So that white pillar of smoke in the background is instrumental. So I guess you got that. So the upper left-hand area is kind of like a right angle, black triangle. We have a little bit of the monster kind of peeking in there. He's bathed in that bright white light. And I guess you can call this tenebrism, where you have like really bright white, bright light against a very like dark, stark shadows, not really any in between. So there he is, bathed in light, almost like he's in a theater production, like he's under a spotlight. But then there's that smoke, that white smoke, so you can't have white on white, you can't see it. So his body goes black, so it's completely in shadow, and you just see few teeny little slivers, details, where maybe like bumps on his chest and scales pick up some of that light. So it's a very natural figure ground reversal. You don't even know it's there. So it's really, Mike Mignola, each of his drawings is like a puzzle. They look simple, but they're deceivingly so. Everything is just placed in such a way that he gives just enough information to tell us a lot about these creatures and monsters and all their interactions with their environments. So try to emulate him when you make your own figure ground reversal. So we'll move on to my example and then a collection of my wonderful past students' examples. So this example here, it's depicting my husband's and my dog. She's a beagle mix. She looks kind of shocked right there. And this is one of my students' drawings. So she's playing with perspective, so you have like the skyline versus the details within the spectacles there. It's pretty cool. Another figure ground reversal, so the fish is going into this murky water, but then the water becomes a figure itself, grows these hands. Spooky. You have a lemur in a really kind of detailed pattern-like jungle, and he's like black and white, almost like a checkerboard. Really nice design. Have some sort of ghoulish figure with a potion, and the potion smoke is where that shift between black and white happens. And this is, it's a really simple drawing, but I really love how the student kind of filled in the ground area with her marker. She made the marks look like grass. She's very intentional. Another picture of a man with a little person inside his chest. It's just pretty crazy. And, there's a kind of like a scuba diver kid encountering a shark. And the little bubble around his head is where the student made that reversal happen. And, this is really neat, kind of imposing a stripy pattern over a figure and having that pattern wrap around her forms, creating those contours. This is a really kind of whimsical, dreamy, nighttime scene. Lady walking through, another lady having like cold smoke coming out of her mouth. So we'll take a look at my example one more time so we know where we're heading as we go through the demo. She's still looking pretty startled. So, I started with a very light pencil drawing of the doggy. And I added a background second. You'll start with the background, then add your figure. It's up to you. And you draw light because you want to erase at the end. So you don't want to have like this kind of incised sort of groove in your paper. You want it to be nice, clean, and even. You don't want to have any smudges either. So now here we have the whole background, some basic shapes, and I put in these little B's and W's throughout. So B stands for black, W stands for white, and you want to make sure that there's not a white shape touching a white shape, or you don't really have an edge anymore and things become unclear. So you want to make sure your B's and your W's are like nestled against each other, and it's kind of a puzzle, so this part actually takes a little while to do. Another thing is you want to refrain from using an outline because that's kind of an easy way to define an edge, is making an outline. You want to just use the black and white shapes themselves, butting up next to each other and implying that line. So we got the lines all laid out, so now we're going to color them in with the black. Make sure you use a marker. You want to use a big marker. Don't want to waste your pens. You also want to create a lot of layers too. So, I just zoomed into the drawing. So you see, like, we don't have the individual marks. There's no white paper showing through. And to achieve this, I, went over the shape in one direction with the permanent marker. Then I would do one other layer in the opposite direction. So it really saturates the paper, and it almost looks like it's a print. Like he didn't even do this by hand. So as you make your figure ground reversals, make sure you do lots of layers with your permanent markers. And be sure to get your big shapes, fill it in with the marker. If you get smaller shapes, maybe you'll start using your pen. But again, you don't want to kill your pens filling in big areas or big shapes with black. In talking to big shapes, you usually want to start with your big shapes first, and then at the very end, that's where you add all the little details and dots and ticks and hair. So you start big, then you end small. It's just a common practice. Here's the final drawing. And maybe another thing to notice too is you don't want to it's super concentrated in one area. Give it all your focus and then slowly move on to the other areas. You want to make sure that you're working from the middle, the left, the right, the top, the bottom of your drawing. As you're creating it, you don't want to neglect any corner or kind of rush it at the end. You want it to be holistic. We'll look at the student examples one more time. Get your creative juices flowing, and don't be afraid to make something that suits your own sort of artistic style, your drawing style. And if you feel like you're still developing your style, start with something you really like. If you like wolves, draw wolves. If you like dragons, draw dragons. Draw something really, excites you, interests you. If If you like flowers or if you like squares are cool. Go for squares. And, have fun. The nice thing about this assignment, too, is when you layer marker over and over again, it really improves the craft. And when you have great craft, your image could be simple, could be complex, and it ends up being pretty impressive. So, yeah, we're done. This funny little face says hello, and he hopes that you have a great time drawing. Bye now.